Hey everybody, welcome back to another midweek episode. So the car that I drive is a 1998 Ford Escort. Not a lot of those that are left on the roads. In fact, sometimes people ask me, how many miles is on your car? Only 105,000 miles. And my goal is that this vehicle would drive in 5 different decades. In the 1990s, the 2000s, the 2010s, here we are now in the 2020s, and I want to be able to drive that vehicle until the 2030s. Now, maybe you have an old vehicle like me, or maybe you have a newer vehicle, but we all need vehicles to drive us around, like to go to different places or to different events, maybe to spend time with family or friends. But did you know that the average person spends just over 60 minutes a day in their car driving? So what do you do with that time? Like, is it wasted time? Because a lot of times we look at it as just transitional time to get me from here to there. But what if we could be intentional about that transitional time? What if we could use our drive time as discipleship time? Because in a sense, this is the way that the Bible invites us to think about it. Deuteronomy chapter 6, Moses is laying out the commands of God, and he says, I want you to talk about these commands. And then he says where and when he wants us to talk about these commands. And so in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 7, he says, talk about them when you walk along the road. Now, obviously, they didn't have cars back then, but they did spend time traveling, and that was transitional time, and probably at least an hour a day where they were traveling somewhere. And so what do they do with that time? Was it wasted time? Were they wishing it away? Or was there some intentionality? Moses invited them to be intentional, to use that time to build their faith, to lean into their relationship with God, to talk that out. And so I want to encourage you to consider that in 2 different ways today. First of all, if you are driving by yourself, to use that time to talk with God. And that might be prayer time, or that might be praise time. You know, prayer time, here's what I'm going to challenge you to do. Talk out loud. I know some of you are like, that's kind of weird. I just pray silently most of the time. But if God is real, why not have a real relationship with him? And it's not that weird, because how many times have you driven past a vehicle and seen a person talking and there's nobody else in the car? And what do you just assume? You assume that they're talking to somebody on the phone. So just try it sometimes. Some of my best prayer times when I'm talking it out loud as I'm driving. Or use your alone time as praise time. What are you listening to? Can you listen to Christian worship music? And you don't have to worry about somebody telling you that you're off pitch or you're singing your own variation of the song. Like, you can sing your little heart out and nobody's going to razz you, because sometimes I get it. Like, my family, when we're driving, I like to sing out loud, and sometimes they pick on me for the way that I sing. Nobody does that when I'm alone. So when you are alone, use that time to talk with God. And then when you're with others, use that as time to talk about God. Now, that doesn't mean you have to spend all the time talking about God, but how do you just sprinkle that into the conversation? Because a lot of times what happens when we're driving with other people is we just go to our devices. Everybody's just kind of doing their own thing. But what if we were intentional to talk with each other? You know, I know families, when they are driving home from church on a Sunday, they debrief the service. They use it as a chance to talk with each other about what they heard, what they sang, what they're taking away from that time. It's intentional drive time discipleship. You know, every day, on average, you have an hour in the car. Don't waste that time. Don't wish it away. Instead, invite Jesus to take a seat next to you. And whether you drive an old vehicle like I do or something a little bit newer, whether you have a car that has high mileage or low mileage. Use the miles that you have in a car as drive time discipleship. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you again next time.